This season on Hermitcraft.
From where you're kneeling must seem like an 18-carat run of bad luck. Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
Welcome to the Hermitcraft recap. My name is PixelRiffs, our writer, editor, comments reader is ZloyXP, and we run this cozy show meant to keep you in the loop on who's doing what on the Hermitcraft server. We try to keep a weekly schedule here covering the videos Hermits release Friday to Friday, aiming to release a recap every Sunday. But today is an exception, because this time we're covering launch day for Season 8 this Saturday, and it's Monday now, so we're already off to a great start. What you need to know before we get into the actual events is that Hermitcraft Season 8 is taking place in a new world on a large continent the Hermits will settle in collaborative communities. With the server naturally starting in 1.17, the assumption is that the world outside their central continent will be reset for Caves and Cliffs Part 2, to allow for fresh world generation and all the challenges that brings. The other big news is that this season welcomes two new Hermits into the fold. Gemini Tay and Pearlescent Moon have joined the group, and thanks to the proximity voice chat mod, they've already popped up in just about everybody's videos. But they deserve a warm welcome to the server from everyone in the community, so make sure you tune into their episode 1s as well. And while we're on the subject of a fresh season, this should go without saying, but we'll say it anyway. This is your opportunity to start watching Hermits you haven't taken the time to watch before. Only watched Grian and Mumbo before this? Let Zombie Cleo show you what's possible with armor stands. You're a devoted tinfoil chef viewer? Step outside the branch mine and add Cub Fan or Stress Monster to your watch list. And of course, subscribe to Hermitcraft's newest members, Pearlescent Moon and Gemini Tay, because the Hermitcraft recap is here to round up the week's events and mishaps, but we're never going to have time to fully capture everything that deserves to be seen, especially with proximity voice chat providing moments where they just stumble into each other and hilarity ensues. So let's bring on the hilarity, the absurdity, and the creativity as we take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on day 1 of Hermitcraft Season 8. We'll start with the new members, Pearl and Gem, and then move on to the rest of the videos one by one. The two are first discovered in a hole in the ground at spawn, as Mumbo Jumbo gives the server its traditional introduction. After helping to initiate BOO as a hermit, a drive-by shipwrecking, and temporarily becoming a birthday cake, Pearl returns to the spawn area, where she has designed a comfy egg for everyone to respawn in if they die without setting their spawn elsewhere.
Well, I gotta say, Pearl, this is looking fantastic.
Well, thank you. It's getting there.
After she and Joe Hills time-lapse the heck out of that, she returns to the Plains biome, where Impulse SV, Mumbo, Good Times with Scar and Grian have been playing boat Jenga, gathers her early materials, and builds a starter house. Which is an understatement, because Pearl is a very accomplished builder, and the upside-down boathouse she builds is spectacular. Stick around for the house tour, her pet axolotl is adorable. Gemini's road to her starter house is just as winding. On her way to the birch forest she chose for a base, Gem briefly joins a gang of lady bandits with False and Stress, and later is bothered by a gang of gentleman ones, Tango, B-Dubs, and Corrales, whom she learns collectively don't have the best business sense.
Did I disappear? Oh, wait, did you guys see beat-ups? No, you're
Oh,
seriously
way to
not.
go. That's wow.
Through the many shenanigans, she learns all about new 117 features and also about how great she is, in glowing letters. It all comes in handy for a lush custom tree and a cozy cabin in the woods. Having picked cottagecore as the theme for future builds, Gem adjusts her Minecraft skin accordingly, just in time for BOO to come back begging for rooted dirt. And I guess this is as good a place as any to talk about the Gentleman Bandit gang. The entire initiation left BOO still itching for action, so together with Corrales they recruit Tango and go adventuring through the densely populated woods, having peer pressured him into changing his skin to bigger eyes, of course. Disguised as each other to preserve their anonymity, the three attempt to rob Joe Hills' chests of free things, which you can probably guess is not much of a crime, after which they find their way to Gem's pad, which goes more successfully at first. Unfortunately, having Corrales in charge of the treasury suddenly leaves them with just 1 diamond out of the 3 they were given, which took them 2 hours to get that they could have just spent digging anyway.
Sit under the cobble of shame. Sit under it.
The events at least taught Corrales about a whole new kind of bush and inspired Tango Tech enough to build his own cottage at the joined bandit hideout. with enough time left in the episode to install the Cave of Temptations in Pearl's commune. The idea is that Timmy the Wonder Pig will be piling gifts in the cave until something from the pile goes missing. So the longer the Botum bunch ignores him, the larger the score. But then again, what good is a stash of calcite if no one is allowed to use it?
There's going to be diamonds in it next time, and then someone's just...
I mean, who else is... Should we change the name of it? Like, we could maybe change the name of this thing so that nobody else goes near it.
Okay.
It could be our own thing. Maybe
the Cave of Do Not Enter works for me.
Even his tactical moss hoodie couldn't disguise B-dubs long enough for him to not lose his head, but it helps him blend in when raiding the jungle for saplings, which he's kind enough to share around while working on his base. And with the moss blocks scavenged from the nearby shipwrecks, B-dubs resists Scar showing up to taunt him and gets to work on an incredible steampunk crescent moon rising from the coastline of the deep taiga biome.
I like Crescent's crest. That's nice.
I mean, sure, but all I see is a snake holding a stopwatch.
Another distant biome is settled by Iskel85 and Etho, who stick around long enough to get a bed and some heads to rest on it, then team up to search for a shattered savanna plateau.
I think I'm gonna live here.
No, I'm gonna live here.
But I think I'm gonna live here now. First to the top.
No, that is a rule.
Etho reunites with Team Canada member Vintage Beef, and the pair of them do a raid just so Etho can get hold of a saddle in the most dangerous way possible. Having TNT'd some cows in the name of making an early enchanting setup, Etho plans to use the Savannah's epic waterfalls as riptide points to travel to different platforms, which means there's a reason to keep it looking like a Smash Bros stage for a little while longer. Iskel's first episode takes the form of a 100 Days video, and after trekking to the savannah and exploding his way through the nearby caves, he gathers enough resources to set up a tiny house on the cliffside, finds a natural chimney nearby which he domesticates for a storage system, and, after observing day 85, begrudgingly saddles up a horse and rides into the sunset with Etho. What awaits over the rainbow is not the end credits, but Zedaf. He chose to base at the farthest reaches of the continent to hide from the public the horror of his experiments and whatever spider bum string is. Though weaving a tangled web of social experiments is only his future plans. As for more current times, Zed focuses on establishing a laboratory out of which said time to measure. Inspired by a real-life pitch drop experiment, he builds a hopper clock to measure his base's time on the server, since his own time is already in the client stats. Zedaf also builds an egg farm, which I guess counts as a STEM subject.
Just having a wonderful time. It's going to be so relaxing.
XB Crafted also sets up shop in a remote location, the better to lay a foundation for his starter house. He doesn't have too much planned ahead of time, but after caving for a whole heap of diamonds, he digs into the newer blocks and starts working with deep slate bricks, then sets up a starter farm among the stilts below the house.
I don't know what I'm going to do with the door, but it's not that.
Deep Slate picks up many admirers in the early stages of the world, and once Stress Monster has been on a Boats and Caves tour of the server with False Symmetry and Gemini Tay, she sets up next to a ravine in a forest near a swamp, and apparently with Gem, False, Vintage Beef and iJevin as her immediate neighbours. The Deep Slate comes into play when she decides to carve homes into the walls of the ravine, creating a facade with Deep Slate tile, and spanning the divide with connecting threads of rope bridges.
Okay, am I gonna die? No.
With her maraudering days behind, False retires to a fantasy-looking hut at the edge of the dark oak thicket, and since the red mushrooms are technically a part of the roofed forest too, they made for a nice roof over her home as well.
In between, I keep falling off of that stupid tower up there and nearly killing myself.
Luckily, there happened to be a skeleton spawner underneath the place, and it makes for a pleasant source of bones, as long as it won't come back to haunt her. For a pleasant source of everything else, look no further than Joe Hills. As the members of the server start dying around him, Joe sets up a resupply station for anybody who dies and respawns, which turns out to be a lot of people, some of them hungry for revenge, so I guess he technically becomes an arms dealer for a moment.
Well, hold on, you know what? Here, take this to arm yourself. That'll keep you safe.
Yo.
Once things are more stable though, he starts taking donations of early game tools, and while Pearl assembles the eggshell around him, Joe lava casts a nether portal to establish easy access to spawn. Unfortunately, the nether has other ideas, and spawns him in a basalt delta. Azuma Void's community contribution is a villager breeder they built 10 blocks away from a swamp and had to move so as not to miss out on some purple robes and lily pad hats.
Could have done it in the swamp, Azuma, then they would have been pretty.
Oh my god, I'm gonna cry.
No, oh god, that was a bad move. Having achieved the perfect visage of a villager, X plans to achieve a perfect visage of something much larger, stating a giant statue occupying an entire island as his goal for Season 8. But before any meaningful construction can begin, someone has to take care of the building crew of one. So Azuma builds a temporary starter house and starts working on an iron farm, having snatched a few villagers from the spawn breeder and vacated a couple of pillagers from their patrol. He also is now an axolotl through the magic of 3D animation and a water bucket. A transformation much more drastic but just as meaningful as the one Jevin undertook recently. In a separate video cutscene, an encounter with evil Azuma left Jevin a regular green Minecraft slime, as opposed to a modded blue one that he was before. This makes the guy much more excitable about the smaller things in life and the bigger things in life, both of which happen to be other slimes. Together with Cubfan, they depart on a mining adventure that yields a surprise geode as well as plenty of surprise creepers, and occupies the larger half of Cubfan's first episode, in which Cub clearly states that he has no discernible plans for the season, and also has been to Missouri for some reason.
The plan, let me get you up to speed on what the plan is for this season. There's not one.
As for Jevin, after the caving session, he departs into the nearest swamp to establish a slime-branded hole in the ground that he shares with a pet axolotl named Pickles.
And I hope that you guys like Pickles, because Pickles is awesome.
We rediscover another shiny variant of a familiar hermit in a post-outro cutscene of Wells Nights. Right after Wells is done with a starter home, starter nether portal, and starter mineshaft underneath the whole thing, his supposedly evil variant Hell's Knight walks in to excitedly vlog about how evil he is.
Oh, the chaos we will create. The damage we will cause.
There is, however, much competition in the villain market now that Zombie Cleo has announced robbing everyone as her stated season goal. Just the first video has her kill B-dubs for a piece of bread, and we'll ignore for a moment who had the bread to put a hit on him.
Run, B-dub! Don't
No!
Aside from too many murders to count, Cleo witnesses Mumbo and Grian manifest themselves out of a ravine, hunts down the fabled spider bum string, and uses it to make quality homemade candles, or water bottles depending on how an armor stand is posed around them. So yes, this season, as before, Cleo will be doing more armor stand decorations and murders. Anyway, it was good times with Scar who put out a hit on B-dubs.
Hey guys, I paid Cleo to kill B-dubs, come watch.
To add a potential insult to actual injury, Scar points out later that the moss skin makes B-dubs look like Oscar the Grouch, which is a pretty monumental contribution, rivaled only by the size of the starter home he's built. Meaning to be a travelling tycoon of industry, it's no wonder Scar settles for a sizable mansion on sizable wheels, looking somewhat like a land boat, and therefore named Lambo. Though like any capitalist, he's not without skeletons in his closet, this time more literally than not.
I'm gonna have plans for you later on.
Although he's not the only one. Just across the plains, Impulse SV helps Grian convert a skeleton spawner into an early farm for bones and XP. He then sets up his first starter house with the aim of branching out creatively and building with a fantasy theme, but still integrating his love of all things redstone. After a rough start in the nether, he raids a nether fortress for some potion brewing supplies, at which point he returns to find Mumbo and Pearl have moved in nearby, and some pillagers may have started climbing the bottom pole.
What are you doing over here, Mr. Okay, don't shoot. Don't shoot.
Mumbo has decided that this season he's going to shed the business suit and pants, although he assures everyone that he is still wearing shorts along with that Hawaiian shirt. What this means practically is that he's adopting a more vegan lifestyle, trying his best not to hurt anything or anyone. So instead of hunting down the nearby farm animals, he sets up a few crop farms, parks his hippie bus in the middle of a field, and builds a tiny house. Anyway, here's Wonderwall.
Oh man, that's already annoying.
His affection for nature is instantly taken advantage of by Grian, who starts planting trees around his van, knowing that Mumbo swore to replant them. The rebuttal is, of course, that Mumbo didn't swear off replanting them in other people's houses. However, a much worse crossing of the Ranger law occurs when Grian poaches an egg without using a pan. For reasons so far known only to him, Grian decides that he just has to own this season's dragon egg, and so he sets off on the path to track down a one-of-a-kind animal and murder it for its young. The trophy may or may not come into play with his plan for the season, building a cave and a cliff of his own on a 1.18 scale, perhaps also occupied by someone massive and scaly, but that last part is just our speculation based on the evidence provided, in before he just turns it into a lamp.
Alright, that's it. Season 8 is finished. We're all done. We got the egg, that's it. We've completed Minecraft.
And that's about it for this recap, although it's worth noting that at the time of this writing on Sunday, we're still waiting on Episode 1s from Doc M77, Vintage Beef, Rendog, Tinfoil Chef, and Corrales. So if those pop up, expect them to be covered in next week's recap. In the meantime, our writer is LoyXP, and my name is Pixelriffs, and if you like the sound of us, you can find our own Minecraft YouTube channels linked in the video description and the end cards. We'll be back next Sunday to recap the first week of Hermitcraft Season 8, so until then, don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.